What if the most dangerous lies aren't shouted, but whispered in the form of innocent questions? What if someone could manipulate you, not through obvious deceit, but by simply asking, "Don't you trust me?" Sounds familiar? It should. Because the scariest manipulators don't raise their voices, they raise your doubts. Trust. It's one of the rarest currencies in human connection. Once broken, it's not just lost, it's shattered into a million tiny pieces, like glass underfoot. And when that break is caused by a master of deception, rebuilding it becomes almost impossible. Some people don't just lie, they plan it, they practice it, they perfect it. And what's worse, their lies aren't wrapped in rage. They're sugar-coated with charm and delivered through questions that seem harmless until it's too late. Let me ask you something. Has someone ever made you feel guilty for questioning them? Ever heard, "Don't you trust me?" and suddenly felt like you were the one who had done something wrong? That's not random. That's strategy. These subtle, sneaky questions are psychological traps, used every day in relationships, friendships, offices, and even casual chats. You see, skilled manipulators don't come at you head-on. They weave their way into your blind spots. In today's video, I'm going to reveal 5 specific questions that may look innocent, but are actually major red flags. These questions are not casual. They're designed to bypass your defenses and install doubt. And here's the truth most people never realize. By the time you start feeling suspicious, the damage is already being done behind the scenes. But don't worry. If you've fallen for these tricks before, you're not alone. Most people have, without even realizing it. This video is here to arm you, to sharpen your instinct, and to give you a sixth sense for spotting manipulation before it takes root. When you learn to recognize these manipulative phrases, you won't just protect yourself, you'll change how you see people forever. Make sure to watch until the end. Each question connects to the next, building a full picture of how manipulators operate. Skip one, and you might miss the bigger game being played. And hey, if you're short on time, just increase the playback speed to 1.5x or 2x, but don't skip. Because time, once lost, is never returned, just like trust. Now let's dive into the first manipulation question that should instantly raise your internal alarm bells. It's deceptively simple, incredibly common, and absolutely loaded with guilt. "Don't you trust me?" Sounds innocent, right? But don't be fooled. This isn't a question, it's a psychological weapon. Here's what's really happening. The person doesn't want to defend their sketchy behavior. Instead, they want you to feel bad for noticing it. They flip the script. Suddenly, you're the villain. They're the misunderstood victim. It's like when a child is caught with cookie crumbs all over their face, and instead of explaining the missing cookies, they pout and ask, "Don't you believe me?" See how that works? It's a diversion tactic, pure and simple. And this manipulation plays out in relationships, offices, and even among friends. It's especially dangerous because it triggers your need to prove you're a good person, a trusting person, while the real deceiver walks away clean. Coming up next, I'll show you the second manipulative question that's even more subtle and more dangerous because it plants doubt deep in your mind without you even noticing. But before we go there, ask yourself, has anyone ever used this question on you? And how did it make you feel? Stick with me. The next question might shock you even more. Remember the first question we just covered? Don't you trust me? It's a classic move, used not to clarify anything but to guilt you into silence. Now, let's take that manipulation and see how it plays out in real life. Imagine this. Your partner disappears for hours without explanation. No message, no call, no clue where they went. You ask, gently, "Hey, where were you?" And instead of answering, they look at you with wide eyes and say, "Don't you trust me?" Your co-worker is late. Again, the deadline passed. You follow up, simply doing your job, and they shoot back with, "Don't you trust that I'll get it done?" Your friend has borrowed money from you, not once, not twice, but several times. And every time they promise to repay you, but they don't. Now you pause before lending them more. And guess what comes next? "What? Don't you trust me?" This pattern is no coincidence. It's a performance, a script, and you've seen it before. So why is this question, "Don't you trust me?" so dangerous? Because it doesn't just distract you, it guilts you. It makes you feel like the bad guy for protecting yourself. You see, psychologically, we're wired to preserve social harmony. We want to avoid conflict, keep connections intact, and saying, "No, I don't trust you," feels like cutting a cord we're not ready to let go of. It feels cold, harsh, disloyal. So instead of standing firm, we do the opposite. We apologize, we doubt ourselves, we drop the issue. Even when our concerns are perfectly valid. But let me tell you this. If someone is truly trustworthy, they don't need to demand trust. They prove it through actions, not pressure. Now, how can you spot when this tactic is being used? There are subtle cues. They might cross their arms, putting up a physical wall. Their tone shifts, suddenly louder, defensive, or even emotionally charged. They avoid your question entirely, redirecting the topic back to whether you trust them. They bring up past examples where they were supposedly honest, as if that automatically cancels current doubts. Sounds familiar? If you've ever been in that position, you know how confusing it feels. But here's your power move. When someone says, "Don't you trust me?" you don't have to fall for the trap. Instead, calmly say, "This isn't about trust in general. I'm asking about this specific situation." Or, "Let's just focus on the facts right now." Or my favorite, "Trust is built through transparency, not through deflection." These statements stop the manipulation cold. They bring the conversation back to reality, where it belongs. When you learn to identify this question for what it truly is, a tactic, you'll stop feeling guilty for asking the questions you deserve to ask. You'll protect your peace, you'll keep your boundaries, and most importantly, you'll stay grounded in truth, not guilt. Because here's the truth. Liars don't want to be questioned, they want to be obeyed. That's why the first manipulation question they reach for is always, "Don't you trust me?" And now, you know exactly why you should never fall for it again. But they don't stop there. They've got more tricks up their sleeve. Next up, we uncover the second question manipulators love to use, one that sounds so logical, so harmless, that it might trick even the most skeptical among us. It's simple, subtle, and psychologically loaded. Why would I lie about that? Ever heard that one? Let's break it down. We just explored how the question, "Don't you trust me?" plays on your guilt. Now, we dive deeper into a similar trap. This time, it's cloaked in logic instead of emotion. The question is simple, almost disarming. Why would I lie about that? Harmless on the surface, but psychologically dangerous. Because let's be honest, when someone asks you that, they're not really opening the door for discussion, they're subtly shutting it. They're not saying, "Let's talk about it." They're saying, "You're being unreasonable for even thinking I might lie." That's the genius of this manipulation. It gives the illusion of transparency while actually being a diversion tactic. It's like they're holding up a mirror saying, "Look at how honest I am. I'm questioning my own motives. Who else would do that if they had something to hide?" But that's not honesty. That's deflection wrapped in clever rhetoric. This question doesn't invite clarity. It clouds your judgment. Suddenly, instead of examining their behavior, you begin questioning yourself. You start thinking, yeah, why would they lie about something so small? Or, they do seem sincere, maybe I'm overthinking. But here's the truth. People lie for more reasons than we can count. They lie to avoid trouble. They lie to protect their image. They lie to get something they want. And some lie simply because they can. This tactic shows up everywhere. A salesperson hypes up a product with exaggerated claims. When you express doubt, they say, "Why would I lie and risk losing a customer?" As if customers are never lied to. A child stands next to a broken vase. The evidence is clear. Yet they look up and say, "Why would I lie when you'd find out anyway?" That logic would work if kids didn't lie all the time. A politician faces contradiction in public statements. The response? Why would I lie about something so easily verified? And yet they do. Often. Notice the pattern. This question is almost always used immediately, right after you express even the slightest doubt. And interestingly, it often comes before you've even accused them directly. That's not just defensive, that's strategic offense. They strike fast, hoping you'll freeze, doubting your instincts before they can catch fire. But you don't have to play along. When you hear this question, don't take the bait. Don't start psychoanalyzing why someone might lie. That's not the point. Instead, bring the focus back to where it belongs, the facts. Try saying, "I'm just trying to understand the situation," or "I'm not accusing you. I just want clarity." These responses shift the power dynamic. They keep the conversation grounded so you don't get swept away by emotional manipulation. Because when you don't challenge this tactic, you risk something far worse: gaslighting. That quiet erosion of your perception. That moment when someone else's version of events starts to feel more true than your own. By recognizing this manipulation early, you protect your mind from that distortion. You keep your inner compass steady, you preserve your truth. And if insights like these are helping you, consider hitting that subscribe button. It allows us to keep sharing tools that empower you, protecting your peace from those who would take advantage of it. Now, let's continue. Ready for the third question: liars love to use. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, in fact it feels flattering. When someone leans in, lowers their voice and whispers, "Can you keep a secret?" It feels like a bond, doesn't it? Like they're pulling you into an inner circle. But what feels like intimacy is often a setup. And that's exactly why this third question is so dangerously seductive. In the last section, we touched on how "can you keep a secret" can feel like a sign of trust, but it's often the perfect disguise for manipulation. Now let's take a closer look at just how dangerous that question can really be. Can you keep a secret? 4 words that feel like a compliment, like you've been chosen, trusted, included. But here's the twist. This seemingly innocent question is actually one of the most sophisticated traps that skilled manipulators use with chilling precision. Because when someone asks if you can keep a secret, they're not merely testing your loyalty. They're probing something much deeper, your boundaries. And what happens next? That's where the real manipulation begins. Most people almost instinctively say yes. Why? Because saying no makes you feel like you're betraying the trust that hasn't even been given yet. It paints you as disloyal, uptight, or untrustworthy, even before anything has been shared. But the moment you say yes, you've unknowingly entered into an unspoken contract. You've agreed, often without realizing it, to protect information that might be unethical, damaging, or flat-out manipulative. In that split second, you're no longer just a friend or colleague. You've been recruited. You've become an unwitting accomplice. Let's bring this to life with a few examples. A co-worker pulls you aside with a whisper. "Can you keep a secret? I'm not supposed to say this about the boss, but..." You're now tangled in office gossip and possibly unethical disclosures. A friend leans in, eyes wide. "Can you keep a secret?" "I probably shouldn't tell you what they said about you." Now you're stuck between two people, unsure who to trust. Or a partner lowering their voice. "Can you keep a secret? I've been texting my ex, but it's totally innocent." And just like that, you're placed in a moral dilemma, forced to carry the emotional burden of someone else's shady actions. See the pattern? This question isn't about trust, it's about testing your limits. Will you carry secrets that can hurt others? Will you participate in gossip, deception, or drama? Your answer reveals everything. It shows just how flexible or firm your boundaries really are. Now, how do you spot this trap before you're pulled in? Look for the subtle but telling warning signs. Does the person seem unusually excited to share this secret? Are they constantly emphasizing how they never tell anyone else? Is the information a clear violation of someone else's privacy? Is the secret designed to manipulate your opinion about someone? These aren't just red flags, they're bait. You're being drawn into a form of triangulation, a manipulation technique where one person controls the flow of information between others, creating hidden tensions and fractured trust. So what do you do when someone hits you with that innocent-sounding question? Here's how you protect yourself. Try saying, "I prefer not to keep secrets that might put me in a difficult position. I value honesty in all my relationships." Or simply, "Why does this need to be a secret?" These answers draw a clear boundary without being confrontational. They signal strength, self-respect, and a refusal to play into someone else's agenda. And that's powerful. Because once you understand that this question often precedes manipulation, something shifts inside you. You gain the ability to pause, to think. To ask yourself, is this truly about trust, or am I being set up? And that 1-second pause could protect your peace, your principles, and your relationships. Coming up next, we'll uncover question number 4, another subtle manipulation tool disguised as a caring gesture. In the last section, we exposed how "can you keep a secret" can turn into a manipulative trap disguised as intimacy. Now, let's uncover the 4th question, one that shifts from subtle manipulation to direct confrontation. The 3rd question liars ask, "Can you keep a secret?" was all about drawing you into their hidden games. But what happens when you confront them, when the truth starts cracking their carefully built image? That's when they reach for the 4th question. Who told you that? At first glance, it might seem like a natural reaction, curiosity, maybe even surprise. But make no mistake, this isn't about curiosity, it's about control. This is one of the most aggressive forms of manipulation you can encounter, and if you're not prepared for it, the emotional consequences can be overwhelming. Let's break down what's really happening when someone asks, "Who told you that?" They're not interested in the truth you've brought to light. They're interested in the source, the leak, the spy, the betrayer. It's no longer about the issue, it's about cutting off the pipeline that exposed them. Think of it like a military commander discovering that there's a mole in their ranks. Their first instinct? Find the mole, silence the leak. And that's exactly what manipulators do. They don't address what you said. They hunt the person who dared to reveal it. The result? They make you feel like the one who's done something wrong just for knowing the truth. And the psychological impact of that? It's heavy. Suddenly you're not asking valid questions anymore. You're defending how you found out. You feel cornered, like you're about to be punished, not for lying, but for knowing. Let's look at some real-life scenarios. A manager is caught hiding budget numbers. Instead of explaining, they immediately demand, "Which team member told you that?" Now the focus shifts from accountability to hunting a whistleblower. A cheating partner confronted with suspicious messages says coldly, "Who told you?" Which one of your friends is trying to ruin us? Now you're forced to defend your source, instead of discussing their behavior. A manipulative friend, exposed for gossiping or stirring drama, fires back with, "Who poisoned you against me?" And just like that, the issue is no longer their behavior, it's your loyalty. Notice the pattern. This question causes an immediate power shift in the conversation. You're no longer standing on solid ground. Your role switches from questioner to defendant. Your confidence begins to crack, replaced by hesitation and doubt, and that's the goal. What makes it even more alarming is how quickly their behavior changes when they ask this question. Watch closely. Their voice might suddenly rise, loud, confrontational, and sharp. Or, just as dangerously, they may go quiet, but in a cold, calculated way that sends chills. Their posture changes. They lean in, eyes narrow, jaw tight, scanning you for weakness. You'll see them staring, almost like they're waiting for you to slip up. This moment is high pressure, and if you're not ready, you might panic and name your source. Or worse, walk back your truth just to calm the situation. But here's your power move. Don't answer. Instead, say things like, "That's not important. I want to focus on what's being discussed. Let's talk about the issue, not who told me." Or, "I prefer to protect the people who are honest with me." These responses protect your source, and they protect you. Because giving up a source in the face of aggression doesn't just burn bridges. It empowers the manipulator to isolate you, discredit you, and eliminate your support system. But when you stay calm and stay firm, you send a message: "I don't play your game, I stand by the truth." And that's a position of true strength. Coming up next, we'll uncover the fifth and final question liars use, one that sounds innocent, but is designed to completely erase responsibility from their shoulders. We just exposed the fourth manipulative question. Who told you that? A question designed not to seek truth, but to control the flow of information and punish those who speak it. Now let's discuss how to protect yourself when this tactic is used against you, and transition into the final weapon in the manipulator's arsenal. So when someone throws at you, "Who told you that?" you need more than just calm. You need strategies to hold your ground and protect both yourself and your information network. Here are a few powerful responses you can use. That's not relevant to the issue we're discussing. Multiple sources have confirmed this. I'd prefer to focus on whether it's true rather than who said it. Each of these statements sends a clear message. You will not be bullied into giving up your sources, nor will you be distracted from the core issue. By recognizing this tactic for what it is, you break one of the manipulator's favorite tools: isolation. When they can't identify and silence your sources, they can't isolate you. And when you hold your line, you preserve the freedom to gather truth from wherever it may come. This moment is bigger than just a question. It's about protecting something far deeper: your integrity, your boundaries, and your right to discern truth from multiple angles. Because here's the core truth. In healthy relationships, information is not weaponized. People don't try to control the narrative or punish others for speaking up. They focus on the real issue, not the whistleblower. So when someone's first reaction is not to engage with the concern, but instead to demand, "Who told you that?" they're revealing what truly matters to them, controlling the story, not finding the truth. Now you're equipped. You know that the fourth question liars ask is, "Who told you that?" And now you know exactly how to hold on to your power when this question is thrown your way. Now take a breath, because we're about to step into the final form of manipulation. The fifth and final question may sound innocent, just a simple, soft-spoken sentence. Don't you remember? But don't be fooled. This question is not about memory, it's about rewriting your reality. I want you to think back. Have you ever been in a situation where someone told you that you agreed to something, but you have no memory of ever saying yes? Maybe a partner claimed, "You promised to help me that day," and you were sure you didn't. Or a co-worker blamed you for a mistake you know you didn't make. Or a family member brought up something from years ago, but you remembered it completely differently. That strange, uncomfortable moment of doubt creeps in. You wonder, is my memory really that bad? Did I forget something important? You start second-guessing yourself, and that's exactly what the manipulator wants. Because when they say, "Don't you remember?" they aren't helping you remember. They're making you question your sanity. This is the gateway to gaslighting, a manipulative tactic used to make someone doubt their perception of reality. And this phrase, it's the golden key. What makes it so effective is something called cognitive dissonance, that inner conflict between knowing your memory is strong, but also knowing you're not perfect. We've all forgotten things before, haven't we? And so when someone confidently, calmly, and repeatedly says, "You don't remember? We definitely talked about this," your mind doesn't immediately reject it. Instead, it starts to bend, to accommodate their version of events. And little by little, your confidence erodes, not just in the memory in question, but in yourself. We just uncovered the final question manipulators use. Don't you remember? A tactic that subtly rewrites your past and undermines your sense of reality. Let's now explore how this question is used in real life, the warning signs, and how you can stay anchored in your truth. The danger of "don't you remember" lies in the internal conflict it triggers. Because memory isn't perfect, and manipulators know that. So when someone confidently says, "We already talked about this," or "I told you that," your brain freezes. You ask yourself, wait, did that really happen? Did I miss something? Is my memory slipping? And just like that, you're no longer certain of your own reality. You're vulnerable. This tactic can show up in subtle ways or in full-blown gaslighting. Let's look at a few real-life examples. A partner casually says, "Don't you remember? We talked about this last week." But you're absolutely sure that conversation never happened. Still, their confidence makes you doubt yourself. A boss shifts blame, claiming, "Don't you remember? I told you the deadline changed." In truth, they never communicated it, but now you feel responsible for their poor planning. A friend with their own agenda says, "Don't you remember how badly they treated you?" Suddenly, you're questioning your judgment of someone, being emotionally steered without realizing it. It's deeply unsettling. Now here's how you can spot when someone is intentionally manipulating your memory. They speak with absolute certainty about something you don't recall. They act concerned or disappointed in your inability to remember, making you feel guilty. They offer excessively detailed descriptions, as if more words equals more truth. Most importantly, these misremembered moments always benefit their version of the story. That's no coincidence. The goal isn't to clarify the past, it's to reshape it, to make you feel unstable, so you rely on their reality over your own. But you can defend yourself. Here are some simple yet powerful responses. That doesn't match my recollection, but let's look at the facts we can verify. I keep a pretty detailed record of our conversations, and I don't have any note of that. Let's focus on the present situation rather than debating the past. These phrases don't attack or accuse. They do something more important. They reaffirm your confidence in your own memory without escalating into pointless back-and-forth arguments. Remember, the point isn't to win a memory contest, it's to protect your mental clarity and your truth. Once you recognize that "don't you remember" is often an attempt to rewrite history, you gain a crucial power, the ability to pause, breathe, and return to your own lived experience. And that clarity, that's your shield. So now, take a moment and reflect. Have you heard this question before? How did it make you feel? Did it ever cause you to question yourself? And now, with this new awareness, how will you respond next time? Because you are now equipped with the knowledge of the 5 key manipulative questions. Let's recap them. Don't you trust me? Why would I lie about that? Can you keep a secret? Who told you that? Don't you remember? These aren't just random questions. They are calculated psychological tactics, often used together, like a step-by-step script designed to confuse, disarm, and control. But now, you know how to recognize them, you know how to respond, and most importantly, you've reclaimed your power. Now that you've uncovered all 5 manipulative questions, you've taken a huge leap toward emotional clarity and self-protection. But insight alone isn't enough. The real question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? Chapter. You now recognize the patterns of manipulation. You've pulled back the curtain and seen the psychological tricks that most people never identify their entire lives, and that puts you miles ahead. You've developed something rare, a kind of mental immunity, a psychological armor that deflects deception before it can take root. But let me tell you something important. Awareness is just the beginning. The people who truly protect themselves from manipulation, who break free from toxic cycles, unhealthy relationships, or manipulative environments, don't just watch videos like this. They take action. So here's the hard question. Will you be the person who nods in agreement, maybe even feels empowered for a few minutes, and then walks right back into the same traps, the same people, the same patterns? Or will you be the one who makes a conscious shift? That choice, it's life-changing. So what does that shift look like? Start with your intuition. When one of these questions shows up, pause. Trust that gut feeling. It's your body's built-in warning system. Listen to it. Begin documenting conversations when you sense manipulation. Keep notes, screenshots, dates. This isn't paranoia, it's self-respect and self-defense. Most importantly, practice your responses. Go back to the strategies we discussed for each manipulative question. Speak them out loud, repeat them, because like any skill, confidence grows with use. And here's the beautiful part. This knowledge, it doesn't just protect you, it protects your entire circle. When you share what you've learned with friends, family, co-workers, you create a ripple effect. One person standing strong inspires others to question, to reflect, to defend themselves. Because once enough of us recognize manipulation for what it is, those tactics start to lose their power. Deception thrives in silence, but truth multiplies when it's shared. So go ahead. Send this video to someone who needs it. Talk about it. Bring it into conversations. Make awareness part of your daily language. And if this content helped you, we'd love your support. Click the thanks button below this video to help us continue creating material that empowers people just like you to stay mentally strong in a world full of hidden manipulation. And we're not done yet. The suggested video that just popped up on your screen has been carefully selected by the algorithm. It's designed to deepen your understanding and build even more psychological resilience. Click on it now. Let's keep building that armor together, and always remember, authentic communication builds trust. Manipulation destroys it. You don't owe access to anyone who has proven themselves untrustworthy. You don't need to feel guilty for protecting your peace. Choose your inner circle wisely. Guard your mental space fiercely, and never be ashamed of saying, "I see the game, and I choose not to play."